साथ करो मोरे आत्मसाथ गुरुदेव करो मोरे आत्मसाथ करो मोरे आत्मसाथ जगत विनाशा जगत विचारे किछु नाही पार तुम्हारा करुणा सारा कांदिया कांदिया प्राणा ना राखिबा प्राणा ना राखिबा कृपा बिंदु दिया करो कृपा बिंदु दिया करो करुणा करो वैष्णव गोसाई वैष्णव Namo
What about a Facebook or?
Facebook, I think.
Because some people, like a Chidananda doesn't go on email, for example. Fortunately, he's already here.
Very fortunate.
Extremely fortunate.
So is he Swansa or Vivekananda?
He's Swamsa.
You're Swansa. That's not English. Like Swanson, when I was a kid, that was like a TV dinner.
What?
Yeah. Now it's like
would
in
you like to
Sanskrit.
start the Garanga Mahaprabhu?
Oh,
Goranga or Nityananda?
Yeah, either one. First in Panchatattva.
You want Panchatattva?
Huh?
Okay, you
Sri
see
Krishna
that.
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. And then Nitai and Gaur. Just
Oh.
one. Just say one Panchatattva mantra.
Oh, okay. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Akura Paramananda Nityananda Akura Paramananda Nityananda Akura Paramananda Nityananda Akura Paramananda Nityananda Adimanya sunya nityana dari bidaya. Adimanya sunya nityana dari bidaya. Adama patita jive dari 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 dari bidaya. Adinama mahamanta jaya polaya. Adinama mahamanta jaya polaya. Jai 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 jai
Everybody to do, would you like to sing
No, just yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle of stuff here.
organizing?
Yeah.
Shoot another for them? You need your glasses? Huh? What? Any song of Gore.
Gandhi.
Yeah. Pick one.
Anyone that you're inspired by.
For what page?
Goranga is
Anywhere from
kind of,
page,
I can't see.
anywhere from page 60 to 100. So you have 40 pages to search for.
You have 4 seconds to decide.
3, 2, 1. This is not on page 1.
Oh.
That is
Between 60 and 100.
Well, that gives me a long time to find it. Are these prescription glasses?
yes,
Well, I can't.
you can see
No.
You need reading?
Yeah.
reading.
You sing a song that you
Try
know.
these.
Wonderful, wonderful. What page is Goranga?
Which one?
Goranga Bolite Habe.
No, I can't see it.
Goranga Dutipada or Goranga Bolite Habe?
They're okay?
Which one were you saying, Prabhu? Goranga Duty Pada?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, page 74.
Decision has been made.
Welcome to Radha.
Gorangera Druti Pada Jaradhanam Sampada
Goranga Duti Pada Jaradhana Sampada
Jani Bhakati
Krishna. Anybody for Krishna?
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare.
Krishna, hey.
Krishna, Krishna.
Radha Krishna, Parama.
Something with a lot of vira in it.
There was a meeting and the other day, and nowhere does it say that Mahaprabhu actually taught or chanted Maha Mantra. So, and they asked that of Prabhupada, our Prabhupada. Said, example is better.
Well, in that, there's a verse in CC, where it said, Kohelam si sa enye banda.
Remember the words?
Kohelam e mahamandra sa enye banda.
Google it.
And I didn't know the Radha Raman Goswami. They don't chant Only japa.
Some of the separate
That's
they
a
don't chant Hare Krishna, they chant.
I mean, they're nice
Hare Krishna, Radha
because
Krishna.
they're nice because they identify as Gaudiyas because of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And when I sing about the Radharani Goswami, so listen to it.
Does anybody have a Krishna song?
Radha Krishna
No, no.
Radha Krishna
Or both, or one?
Radha Krishna Pranam Word
What page?
123.
I just went faster.
Prabhu, you can sing it.
No, I can't play Radanga and sing at the same time.
Okay, go up.
I don't think anybody's coming to this.
That's good.
Like that.
I mean, that'll be less like cross.
We'll make a lot of decisions very, very quickly, and we'll.
You'll just make a decision and then go with it.
So it looks
Yeah.
like we need $4,000.
Who votes to take all the AC money and just buy ice cream all summer instead? Me? Okay. Well,
Pretty
the vegan,
responsible.
low glycemic, for Diddy,
Wow.
and okay, easy.
I think we should prepare the Quran.
Okay.
Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Kishore
Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore
Radha Krishna Pranamo Jugala Kishore
Radha Krishna Pranamo Yugala Kishore
Jivane Marane Gati Arana Himo
Jivane Marani Gati Arana
Kalindira Kule Keli Kadambera Vana
Kalendra Kule Kalendra Bana
Ratana Vedira Upara
Radhana Vidya Upa Bosamo
Shama Gauri Anga Jiva Chandana Raganda
Shama Gori Angeli Bachua Chanda Mera Banda
Mukha Chanda
Chamara Jula Gokave Vivo Mukha Chanda
Gatiya Mala Tirmala Divono Har
Gatiya Mala Mara Devodo
Adare Tuliya Divo Karpura Tambule
Adare Tuliya Divo Kapura Tamore
Lolita Vishakayari Jata Shakti Vrinda
Lalita Vishakari Jato Sati Vinda
Abhyaya Kori Voseva Charana Vinda
Ajaya Kori Boseva Charana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasaram Yudasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasaram Seva Radha Krishna Anamora Radha Krishna Anamora Yugala Marane Gati Aranati Mora
Jaya
Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna
Okay, Mr. Ghosty, here we go.
No, it's the waste of paper. Don't forget to put that on the list, semi-annual.
We're ready to make the ultimate decisions.
Where's the board members?
Do we have a quorum?
You gotta
We
have
have
at least the
quorum.
board members.
Well,
Well,
Nishinda
the
lives here.
gentleman to my right, he's
Where's Nishinda?
Arjun's not coming. He's
Ah.
taking vacation these 3 days. And Nishinda, let me check.
Okay. I'm taking pictures.
And we'll just start a new board. Yes, it's all of us. Let's decide. Okay, ready?
Is this anarchy?
Yes.
Mutiny.
Live already.
Are we gonna be looking at slides? You want-
Can we call this restructuring?
We're taking
No
over.
bankruptcy.
In the absence of a higher authority, people's power will rise.
Well, may I make a
Nothing.
suggestion?
Yeah.
First of all, you have to put someone in charge of the meeting.
A new party.
Okay, so
How do you go?
everybody's in charge, so
I want
he
Dora
will,
to be in
he's
charge.
supposed to present an agenda.
Right,
We all hear what the agenda is,
Right.
add anything that we wish,
right.
and then
do
we
that?
shall.
Dora, could you do that today, please?
No, you're in charge.
I'll begin.
I'm a lowly fallen
The
householder.
feeling I have, which you can decide, in fact, is that this is what we call a lame duck temple, that you're always planning on leaving, so nothing is gonna pay for it until you leave. So how long will that be? A year? Meanwhile, you're racking up expenses. It's not too bad, I mean, 23,000, and you're only back at
Oh,
500
this is it.
in this semi-annual report here.
Well, how about if we have an agenda first?
Yeah,
Okay?
agenda first.
New party, Guru? You're on.
First,
Here's your mic.
that is what I just, to recommend you, refer to my comments.
Is that Streams of Nectar still live though?
It's not Streams of Nectar, it's going on YouTube because we don't want it going public.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, because I see the red light on, so I was just assuming that, so.
Here's your different parts of the thing.
Can you check with Nishinda and see also?
Machines at work.
He's going to work.
Oh, he's at work.
Does it work like pretty much every day?
Is this on?
Huh?
It's, you know, we can always postpone this
No,
to another day.
It's going on YouTube on a special channel.
If there's not
I
sufficient
see.
Who got the email know where it is.
I see.
You can-
We should reschedule it.
What?
I'd just like to say something. If there is not sufficient interest in this particular Istagosti, we could reschedule it
No.
and announce to people in a more official manner. Then you may get better response. Because obviously, you know, Mukunda, he's going to the airport, I presume. So we're kind of left with a skeleton crew here, and we should not be allowed to make decisions.
Absolutely,
We can make suggestions, but we can't make decisions.
for sure.
So, if we want to make suggestions, that's fine. To me, it's not very helpful unless we have the officials present. They can see and hear from us what we're thinking, and then they can discuss amongst ourselves.
Even there are no board members here to form a quorum.
Sorry?
Exactly.
There are no board
We
members
were not
to form a
making
quorum.
any official decisions here today, folks, so don't worry
Okay.
about that.
All right, well, that's good.
So
Alright,
welcome,
I'll leave.
Hare Krishna Dandavatana, welcome to our Istagosti. First of all, I offer my respectful obeisances, the Lotus feet of my spiritual master, our entire Guru Parampara, and all the assembled devotees, headed by Srimati Sharmani Didi, and Chitananda Prabhu, and Govind Prabhu, and Didi, and Rasangi Didi, and Shiva Shan Maharaj, and all my God brothers and God sisters. So today is going to be a fairly brief Ishtagoshti, since we don't have much time, and many devotees are out of town or otherwise engaged. Maybe didn't have enough notice, although the notice was sent out. So please check your email regularly, those folks who are on our emailing list. And we'll be having another Ishtagosti soon, so keep an eye out for that. Yes, Mevo.
May I ask one question, please?
Yes.
What was the impetus for this Istagosti?
The impetus for this Istagosti was the last Istagosti.
Ah.
The
So in
last
other words,
Istagosti was
all of the committees that were established were supposed to present their information that they had gathered today, correct?
that would have been a nice idea,
That
yeah.
would have been nice.
So the problem is this, to try to get the devotees together is the main problem.
Mhm.
Because everyone's got their own busy lives, and if you schedule it on any given day, a certain number of devotees will not be able to attend on that day. So it's hope against hope to try to get everybody here for an Istagosti. So at least we want to keep the momentum going, so that devotees at least, I mean, it's going to be online, they can watch it. There's supposed to be some minutes coming out, Chaitanya Shakti Didi, where are you? And so at least some momentum is going, some information will be presented, okay, this is where we are, even if we haven't made any progress, at least the devotees can keep abreast of what's happening, even if it's nothing. So,
What?
so today,
Nothing comes
we'll-
nothing.
we'll create a quick agenda for today. The basic preset agenda is simply the financial report and a follow-up from last month's meeting. If there's any of the committees have any developments, and also we have some possible locations of the future temple that we can discuss. So, is there anything else, anybody else would like to add to the agenda?
I mean, I have something I want to.
Add to the agenda? Okay, what's the quick title for the item on the agenda?
Locks.
Locks. Okay, locks.
Locks. Bagels and locks?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes, sir.
Will
Very
bagels
nice.
and locks be served? No. May I ask a question?
Question. Go ahead.
Who compiled the financials?
I did.
Okay. And where did you derive all of the information?
I got this information from the, downloaded some of it from the bank and the rest of it from the statements, which the bank only went back a few months, so I had to go back to the statements, of which we only were able to get back to July of last year.
So may I ask, who's in control of all of the input?
Input meaning,
Input, all the information you derive,
Yes.
who's responsible
well,
for
the
the
information is
input?
simply coming from the bank. That's simply the
No,
bank.
no, who put it to the bank? In other words, who's signing checks, who's saying, yes, we'll pay this, no, we will not pay that?
Oh, who's signing checks? The board members, Ms. Stringer, I believe, or Arjuna?
So if a expenditure.
Why are we discussing this? This is a
Because we have to
discussion
know,
about the
this could
financial.
all be,
Well, that's part of the, is
is
negotiated,
it
that's
true or
not.
not?
That's
all
not,
I'm asking.
okay, well, that will be a part of the discussion about the financial report.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is a call for agenda items, and then we go into the actual,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's my agenda item.
right, great. Anything else? Okay, so let's begin with the financial report. Everybody's got a copy of it, or can borrow a copy of it. So, we've only got information going back to July because they switched bank accounts. They were previously at some other bank, and then they switched to Central State Bank, and they didn't keep, they meaning, you can guess who they means. They didn't keep the statements or keep any data from the previous bank account, so that all just went into the vacuum. We could go to the bank and ask them for statements, and they'll charge you $25 per statement.
Yes, yes.
So I decided just for this today to skip that and to try to get something done right away for this meeting. So
My question again is, if the input is improper, the output, this, could also.
Well, there's two
I'm
things.
not saying that it is.
there are two things.
but
When
there's a
you say
possibility.
improper,
Let me finish, Prabhu, let me finish.
okay.
Because the last time there was a transition of leadership, there was a bank account that was not transferred, and there was a sum, a sizable sum, but the new ownership had not access to that, so they had to inquire from the previous owners, is there money in this account? And there was, so that changed the whole bank balance. So that's all I'm asking. I'm not attacking anyone. Please try to understand this. The most important thing is that we have to have the proper information in order to make a proper assessment of where we stand. And if you don't know exactly where you stand, just like you just said, you changed accounts. Is there money in the previous account?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of that? How can that be released? Will that import on this financial statement? These are the only questions I'm asking. Please do not take offense. We're just trying to get down to the truth of the matter. That's all.
Right. So this is an income and a profit and loss statement, so it doesn't tell you how much money you have in your bank account. So I'll try to bring it up because we did it online on Intuit's website. So basically, there was like $5,000 back in July. When the accounts were transferred from the old bank to the new bank, there was about $5,000 in the account. That was transferred from the old bank to Central State. So in the middle of June last year, there was at that point, there was $5,000 in the account. So since then, this activity has happened.
Okay.
So there was a net loss of $3,500. So that basically means the balance now should be about $1,500 because we started with $5,000. We've spent $3,500 more than we earned. Therefore, we're down to $1,500 in the account. So basically, it's something like that.
So it's not a negative 35.
No, but the balance is not negative right now.
Oh.
No.
See, so this misrepresents, and anybody who sees
It
this-
doesn't represent. Basically, if you don't know how finances work, you may be confused. But anybody who knows anything about financial statements
Yes.
knows that a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement are not the same thing.
No, and that's true. So it's the requirement of the financial officer to clarify these financial
Who is the
findings.
financial officer?
I don't know, who is? That's what I'm trying to find
So
out.
I jumped in at the last minute because I asked for this financial report at the last Istagosti, and we were told we were going to get one, and I've been bothering the board members about it, and finally I just said, just give me the data, I'll do it myself. So I did it in a few hours on Saturday, the other
Here's
day.
another question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having that. Yeah.
Thank you for doing it, yes. We're not, please try to understand.
I'm not disturbed by the questions because I don't have anything to hide, so don't worry.
No, there's no accusations here.
Even if there was accusations, it wouldn't bother me because I've got nothing to hide. Okay?
No one is saying anybody has anything to hide. The question still remains, how accurate is this information? That's all.
Okay. So basically,
Black and white.
basically, the whatever information here is what's come out of the bank. The bank.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I have.
Is it the full picture?
Well, there's a few dollars in the hundi, and I don't know how much people have been taking out of the hundi without anyone's knowledge. That I don't know. So besides that, that's all we got. Whatever's in the bank. As far as I know, all the money goes through the bank. Like all the cash goes through the bank. So the bank should have a complete statement of all the financial activities
They should.
of the. Now the
Everything
only
goes to the bank.
if it didn't go through the bank, then we wouldn't know about it.
Correct.
Then how do you
So
classify?
if you say, well, we want someone to monitor the person who's doing the finances, then that's.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, is the person who is doing all of this, are they doing it properly and responsibly? That's all.
Well, then we elected Arjuna to be the temple president, and that's basically an what do you call it, executive position.
Yes.
So you're giving responsibility to that person to do the job, and you assume that they're doing it
Yes.
properly. If you
That
don't
is
trust them, then you
understood.
vote them out.
Yes. We're not voting anyone out. We're just asking.
Well, the point is moot,
You
because
did
if you
this, but
voted someone in,
Arjuna didn't.
if you voted someone in, and you have some doubt about whether they're trustworthy, that's a separate issue.
You're missing the point here. Really, you are. Okay.
Does anyone think I'm missing the point, or Gogovin is missing the point?
Okay, Prabhuji,
What do you think?
what I think is, let's hear what he has to say, then we can,
I'm
give our
perfectly
contributions.
prepared to hear exactly what he has to say.
Mhm.
All I am saying is, how accurate is this information that he's going to tell us? That's all.
We have to assume that the information is perfectly accurate.
I
Otherwise-
have to assume.
Yes.
Okay.
If you have any doubts,
I will assume.
if you have any doubts about the integrity
No.
of those who are
These are
producing
your words.
information,
These are not my words. Okay? I'm not doubting anyone's integrity. I'm simply
The
asking.
answer is
Yes.
yes,
Are
these
these-
are accurate.
Okay. If you're saying that these are accurate, then I will accept that. Okay?
Okay.
this is as much information as I've been given from the bank
Okay,
account
thank
that's
you.
in this
All right,
report.
so-
If you have any doubts about that there may be some money elsewhere in someone's pocket that's not accounted for, that you have to
No,
talk to the
Somebody's
bank.
behind you.
Why do they always go there?
I just want to make sure, I can't hear
Oh, you can't hear because he has an ear infection.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we didn't change banks, the bank changed hands. It was bought out by a larger bank.
See,
There you go.
Also very
So-
good information.
So there you have it now. Any other questions on this?
I actually have a question, but it's very minimal. How did you come up with the DD outfits and temple decor? Is that something that your Intuit software recognized?
No,
That's very
I
special.
basically took the bank information and downloaded it into QuickBooks and assigned each expense
okay.
to a specific category.
Do you have more of the papers?
You can have this. There's how many of that over there?
Yeah. If you need it. Let's have it.
Can I borrow yours? Quite certain.
Okay, so basically, you can see that since July 1st to March 1st, which is how many months?
8 months.
8 months, so that's 2/3 of a year. Our total donations were $23,879, and total expenses were $27,382. Now this actually includes some rather large amounts. For example, there was $4,500 that was just spent to fix the code violation on the shed. Now we got a donation of $4,000, to help cover that, courtesy of some very kind donor. Does anybody know? So, and that was also Shamasundar graciously shared that with the temple, because actually he's the one, his corporation is the one that actually received the donation.
I'm responsible for that.
Okay, he's responsible. Everybody can thank him. So, the large donation for $4,000 and a large expenditure which goes under repairs and maintenance, that 4,593, basically 4,500 of that is just for the back there. So there may be some other smaller expenditures that were difficult to ascertain from the bank statements or the downloaded data. And of course, whatever period before July 1st, so many expenses would have been there that we don't know about. At least, so if you just we're taking a snapshot of 8 months out of a year, just to give some idea. You can basically tell from the daily, like what are the daily expenses, because there's always going to be special expenses due to some emergency or this or that. But if you look at the daily supplies, for example, that basically means boga, flowers, things just to keep the daily program going here. So that comes to $10,000. So for 8 months. So what, $1,100 per month. And then daily outfits, that's something rather out of the ordinary. And then taxes, so we're paying about, almost $4,000 in property taxes on this place. And we just filed a request for exemption from property taxes with the county. If that is accepted, we won't have to pay that this year. Utilities, that's another rather large expense. So that's $5,700 plus another $1,000 for the internet. So that comes to what's 6,000 divided by 8? Anyone? That's per month.
500.
$7,000.
Oh, by 8.
$700 a month. Yeah. A little over $700 average per month. So that's one of the major expenses here. So, and some of this income also is accounted for by renting. These various devotees who are taking residence here are renting, paying rent. So if we were to move to some other place and we were to lose that rent, we would be in some difficulty financially. So this is just to give you an idea what is involved in maintaining this temple. So does anybody else have any questions or comments on this?
Well,
Go ahead.
okay, so we have a rough idea what's going on, and obviously we're in the red. So is there a plan for eliminating some expenses to minimize that negative figure, or what? Because, everybody, just like Dina Bandhu brought up about how hard it is to control the AC and heating, because many devotees will come and we're not accustomed to hot or cold, so we'll say, oh, turn this up, turn that up. So, we're partly to blame, that's true, but there are, nowadays, people who come here aren't as frequent as they used to be, so we just have our temple residents. So amongst them, can they not formulate a plan to maybe reduce that expense? Because it seems rather high, but I don't know. I'm not here to judge.
Honestly, I don't think there's much you can do about it. You may be able to save $20, $30 here and there. But when it gets really, really cold or really, really hot, and unless you want the temple residents to live in.
We understand, okay. So can we go through the various expenses and look at them in any meaningful way, or are we just going to accept how things are being done?
Personally, that's not my department.
That is not your department. Whose department is it?
Well, that would be Arjuna. I know
he's not here.
Yeah. So he's the manager of the temple operations. So he would
actually, Prabhu, you can see that Indupati Prabhu is just trying to be a good Samaritan here.
We understand. He is a very good Samaritan. We owe everything to Indupati.
Okay.
All I'm addressing
enough.
the situation at hand. That's all. Well, we have to also understand, it's very, very important that this is not I told you so, what are you doing, this is all wrong. This is not what this is, okay? This is very important to understand. We're simply looking at the reality of the situation and deciding how can we adjust if that's at all possible. No one is being blamed here. Indupati is not being blamed. The residents of the temple are not being blamed. It's just like a family. You know, if you've got a son or a daughter and they're on the internet all the time and they got their AC turned up high, you're going to say, hey, whoo, this can't go on. I'm paying the bills. You can't do this anymore. So we're in a similar situation. We're all in a big family here. We have residents. I mean, I don't live here. But I'm just making a suggestion that those who do live here, ultimately it becomes your responsibility to see, okay, maybe we have to make some adjustments. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I think it is the responsibility of the residents of the temple that, yes, it is your responsibility. And to present a financial and then kind of say, well, I hope people see, wow, we're, losing money here. They're going to, reach into their pockets and cover the balance. That may not happen. It's possible. Somebody may. But we can't depend on that. So we have
I'll
to
give
be
you an example
responsible.
of how things work here. When the $4,000 tax bill came up this year, Arjuna went and asked several devotees if they could help, and then he collected the money like that to pay it. So Arjuna is on top of making sure there's money there. I mean, we have a balance in the account of $2,000 right now. We're not any negative.
So then this is
that's
not 3,500 negative?
No, this
It's
is
a
not a
profit and
balance
loss
sheet.
statement.
This is profit and loss. It
We're
means
burning more than we're taking.
that's how much in that period of time.
We already knew
In that period of time, you spent more than your income, but it doesn't mean you didn't have something to start with. So if we had $5,000 before this activity, then you're minus 3,000 from that starting balance. And if you look at it by month, you'll see it going up and down. This is an average over 8 months.
Yes, yeah.
And if someone were to give a big donation, it would bring us, even higher. So
how should we look at this then?
I say we look at this as some kind of idea, what it costs to run a temple.
Okay.
And it's going to cost us more to run a bigger temple.
Okay.
So that's how we should take it.
Okay.
This is not particularly discussion about temple finances right now, except that to inform the devotees that it does cost money to keep this place going, even in a minimal kind of sense.
We accept that.
So if you, it's also just good practice to tell your donor base how much money you're collecting and how much you're spending. That's just nice. I mean, that's what non-profits are supposed to do. You don't keep everyone in the dark about what your financial situation is, but we're not accumulating money here. We're basically keeping on the edge. And Arjuna's like, you're rushing here and there just to make sure he's collecting enough money to pay the bills. If they go under, then he goes and he asks devotees to help out, and so forth.
The question, just the $4,000, that's for this 8-month period, or is that?
No, that was a one-time payment of $4,500 for the contractor to fix the code violation on the shed.
So what is the tax for the
On
property?
the taxes, it's about $4,000 also.
A year?
Per year, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would actually help bring in, if you had a full year's expenses, that would actually bring the percentage value down and make it more manageable.
True.
I actually have 2 questions. The first question is, all the money that goes in, for example, making a PayPal donation to BDGI, that goes into donations, right? That's reflected.
Yeah, this doesn't include all the details from PayPal.
That's
basically
fine. I just want to know that they were linked together.
Yeah, everything that goes into PayPal is transferred to the bank account, and then it just went under donations.
The other question I have is, under taxes and licenses, once you, sorry, just move on.
If I may interject again, one of the code violations that's being repaired is the heating situation in the back rooms. We have been heating with space heaters, which is obviously less efficient. They are making us put in central heating for that, so that will increase the efficiency in that room, but it will require an initial expenditure to do so.
Okay.
So the code violation fix involves doing a bunch of work over there, one of which is putting in permanent heating.
One of which will result in
lowering the bills.
Utility.
Utility bill decrease.
Very good. What is the status of our permit violation repair?
To my knowledge, we've signed a contract with a contractor. His name is Dwayne Olson, and
How much is the contract for?
$4,500 plus.
And what is he doing for that?
He's dealing with the city, doing all the paperwork. He may have to, I think he has to put a door between the two rooms to make it into one room for some official purpose. Then he's going to have to check in, maybe cover the piping outside. I don't have the contract with me, but
How much is the rent?
there's no official rent. We're not officially renting those spaces. I talked to Arjuna. But we're getting maybe, anywhere between $400 to $1,000 in rent per month.
Is the $4,500 that you've contracted with him, is that the guarantee that you will receive a clearance of your permit?
No, that's just the contractor's fee. But we make a contract with the contractor to do this, and this. That's,
No, but the contract, he is promising to you.
if I want to see is not particularly hard. Arjuna Prabhu just created a corporation, filed 501c3 in a matter of a few hours. So it's not hard.
Yeah,
the
now
problem is that if you have a history, a financial history, then you've got to present all that history. If you create a brand new corporation with no history,
Right.
it's fairly simple.
Well, we have history.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one option is we could create a new corporation for the new temple. That's also doable. So,
I have a question. You're using a "we" word.
Yeah.
We have a temple president.
A little loosely there, Prabhu.
We have a temple president, and he's been promising for months to do the 501(c)(3), and we can say "we," but that doesn't make it happen. Somebody needs to be responsible to make it happen, and then somebody needs to follow up on the persons who promised to make it happen. But without a head, Prabhupada said the body is mad or dead. And that's why we seem to be just spinning our wheels all the time, every time we have us to go to.
So in Dupati, who do you say is the
I
we
think Sharon
here?
hasn't finished yet.
I'm finished.
Yeah, I'm asking who is the we here?
when I say we, I'm using just a generic term, meaning we, the temple devotees. Maybe we, the community, or we the people. Thank you.
We the people.
We. So I'm just speaking in generic terms because I don't know what else should I say. The temple,
Govinda Prabhu,
the management.
Govinda Prabhu is very good at that.
What?
About the setting up this organization.
Well, the thing is, we created a committee. It's right there. That was something concrete we did last year. The next step is that those who are assigned those particular duties are supposed to come and report. And actually, they're supposed to just do it.
Yes.
And then they come back to did it. That's it. So we need to hear from them.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to call Manju
I can call
Mansi,
Manju.
you can ask her what's happening. All right. So the other committees that were formed.
And myself.
Was the fundraising, Mohini and Arjuna, but neither of them is here. Architecture, Maharaj and Sanat Prabhu, I don't know, anything to report on that?
Sanat actually did some research. I was going to do it, then he said he called and did some research on it. I have not, he's not here, so I would, if you can give me the opportunity, I can consult with him and then let everybody know individually or collectively.
What did he say he was going to do?
We want to check on the architects, the architecture, people who can do this, and we were going to check with Baltimore.
People who can do what?
Design the temples and so forth. So we want to consult with Baltimore and the other places So he called, in fact, he did, after a day or two, he did it. And he told me, he said, you don't have to. So I have to call him and get the details. I thought he would be here.
Okay, so moving on. Next would be land building permits. Makondaguru and Sanatan Prabhu. So now that them is here. So I do have a couple of potential locations that I could show the devotees. We can get some feedback on that.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
You're gonna show them up here, huh?
I'm going to put them up on the TV there.
Everybody turn around. That'd be pretty exciting.
Everybody thought that somebody said that everyone was going to, but nobody, and then everybody, and nobody, and then so everybody thought that.
What did you say? No, we want to hear it.
Exactly, that's the point. Everybody said and then nobody, and then everybody.
Everybody thought that somebody was going to say that everybody was going to, and then nobody did what everybody thought somebody was going to say that.
Oh my God.
And
Welcome
the
to
Gosney
Radical-
is,
And welcome to Radical Vinda Alachua.
the Gosney is where you keep minutes and lose hours.
I can tell you exactly how to solve that.
Oh wait, we have a nugget of wisdom coming.
No, we don't need to change that.
The temple president, this is his job. He's going to go to each person who is on that committee and he says, Prabhu, have you done what you said you were going to do? No, Prabhu, I haven't done it yet. Well, when are you going to do it? Oh, in 1 week. Okay, in 1 week I'll ask you again. If you don't do it, you're no longer in charge of that project.
In fact, we can call people on the phones right now. If we want.
It's all a matter of communication, that's all it is.
Okay, so let me present some
Yes, let's see the properties.
possible properties.
Let us dream. The impossible dream.
Create some excitement. Turn up to the
Alright, here is a map. This is a Zillow. You're not familiar with it?
I am.
Anybody? This is like a website to find out properties that are for sale, so forth.
Need a bigger screen.
Yeah, trying to make it bigger. I don't know how to get this thing off to the side because I don't really want this piece on the side right now. But anyway. So the piece of land that Arjuna was talking about, at 45 acres.
Why do we keep talking about that?
Yeah, why do
It's not
we
even
keep talking
possible.
about that?
Well,
It was taken off the table because it was impractical.
Well, I thought it was taken off the table because it was not for sale anymore, but it's anyway, it's up for sale again. So just FYI, I think Arjuna really likes that property.
Yes, he really likes, but he didn't give us the backstory. What was the backstory?
Oh, like what? His idea was that if we purchased that property and sold 5-acre lots to individual devotees for something like $50,000 each, then the accumulated money would be enough to pay for the whole thing, which would leave 15 acres for the temple. That was the plan.
Yeah, but that was not able to be done.
Can you say that again?
Okay.
So the property is 45 acres. So Arjuna's plan was, let's take 30 acres and sell it to devotees. 5 acres each. That gives you 6 lots. Now let's say you sold them for $50,000 a lot. So your 6 times 5 is 30, or $300,000. Now, if the seller, although it's listed for 380 something, let's say they would be willing to settle for 300. So you collect $50,000 from 6 devotees, you have $300,000, you buy the property, but then you've got the 15 acres left over, which basically means the temple gets the land for free, and devotees get to have a piece of property right close to the temple. That was the plan.
Okay. What would stop that plan from happening, please?
Right. So the main problem with our plan is finding 6 devotees with $50,000.
No, that's not the problem.
And the other problem is that there would be some significant expense in putting in roads and so forth to satisfy the county's
In order to
requirements.
subdivide it.
To subdivide it, which means you have to.
That's what you're doing, you're subdividing a piece
Right.
of property that you own. And in order to do that, it requires a great amount of endeavor,
Yeah.
legalese, paperwork, working with the city, filling in everything that they require, and then if they find out who they're dealing with, they're gonna say, oh, well, we got a few other regulations that we pull out when we don't want someone to do something.
And
Here
we
you
can't
go.
even get a 501c, how are we gonna do all that?
No, the 501c3 is
move on.
simply for collecting donations.
Move on to the
I'm
next
just saying, we
piece.
don't have the wherewithal to do that lead
Oh.
thing, how are we gonna do this big thing?
Okay. Right.
We have one already.
Oh,
we
well,
can-
I'm getting a phone
yes.
call, maybe someone wants to talk.
Is that Mukunda?
Madonna is calling. See. Anyway.
Next.
So anyway, this is a picture of that land, just FYI. Anyway,
Beautiful.
This Rusty, are you calling in for this?
We wish we would have it.
Oh. Yes. Okay then. Oh.
Where is it?
Okay then, also are. So this is the land, this is the 45 acres. Shamani, did you went to see it, and several of the devotees have been to see it? And it's quite nice.
Did Shamarani like it?
I like it, but I knew as soon as the lady began speaking that we were never gonna get it.
Okay.
No,
Well,
it's-
So do we need to
because
discuss
it's so
that anymore?
impossible to make it happen.
I mean,
You
because
said
of
you
the
might have
expense.
to wait years
Oh.
to see about further dividing 5 acres, and there's just so much, council, city, government, red tape.
It's also, there are many big realtors and big property developers who are in the pocket of the local administration, and all of the obstructions are removed for them because there's a certain amount of money that is handed under the table, and they were able to accomplish what they were accomplishing. Because you look around, there's a lot of development where you have plots, 5-acre lots, and they're selling them. Those have been all approved by the city and the county. But they're big developers, and they're in the know. We are not.
Right. So money and effort would be required.
Question.
Right.
The land that you just showed us, is it up here, like on the way to Raghunath Prabhu's house? Because I've seen some land for sale on the way to Raghunath.
No, it's not
Prabhu's
on the way to
house.
Raghunath. It's basically when you get to that last junction where you cross over to go to Raghunath, you would turn left there, and just a few hundred yards down there, you would take a right onto a dirt road. So it's close to Raghunath, but it's
There
not
is
on the
some,
road to Raghunath.
There are some possibly smaller land plots on the way to Raghunath Prabhu's house when you're going, right when you turn
On the
that
left hand
road.
side.
Yes, yes.
On
I see that.
Maybe smaller is better. And they're not really small. I mean, you could put like a ranch full of cows on there if you wanted to. Like it's a big space of
So,
land.
just as a general comment, if anybody has any pieces of property that they think might be suitable, that are, for example, they escaped our notice, then please send an email to myself or also to Mukunda Prabhu, because he will call the county and the city.
What's your email?
Indupati@yahoo.com, and Mukunda's, I don't remember offhand. I can forward it to Mukunda. So Mukunda is basically taking the responsibility of calling the county and the city to find out about the zoning requirements of any particular piece of property, whether it's suitable or not. So, okay, if we have some other properties in mind, we can certainly look into those. Right now, we've
I
only
thought
got...
you said that, or I thought somebody said that Mukunda Prabhu found a couple of places and you were going to show us a couple of options more.
Yeah, I'm showing you that now. So here's a piece of property. This is, I'll show you the location on the map first. Oh, welcome to Zillow. So this is Highway 441. Here's the intersection with I-75 right there. So this is going towards High Springs, right? So this spot here says 220.
235A.
This is 230. This is 173rd Street. Publix is right here. Publix is here, and then you have on this side of the road here, you have the Santa Fe Ford. So if any of you have been to High Springs from here, you just get on the 441, turn left, and go towards High Springs. Then you'll see a big Ford dealership on your left, and then on the right you'll see an animal hospital.
Yes.
And right after the animal hospital, there will be this house. So this
Is
is
this
the house.
posted by Freeman?
I don't remember who.
Where do you want to
Well, it
turn
should
to
say.
this live stream to the?
Yeah, I'll turn the live stream also. It's kind of like.
Yeah, he's having trouble
Is
selling that
everybody out
place.
there?
It's right on the highway. Is that part of
It's right on 441.
Yeah. Is it acreage or?
That's 3 acres.
Can we scroll through the pictures?
Yeah, so I'll show you the pictures. If I can make it full
I'm
screen.
gonna show you the house.
Is it a residence or is it some sort of a business? Or
It's
It's a
Man
residence.
or what?
It's a residence. So here is the
Is that
front. This is the view from the highway. It's a little bit set back from the main. Oh, it's not coming up on the screen because. One second, I'll cast this.
3.02 acres.
So this is the front of the house. That's the inside.
Lovely house.
A nicely well-maintained house.
I wish to live there.
I went to see
What are they
it.
asking?
They're asking 228.
Ooh, he's come down.
How
From
many
3,
bedrooms?
it was 330.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Yeah.
How many
3
bedrooms?
bedrooms, 2 baths.
Now it's got two stories. It's got a lower story and an upper story. The lower story has a big unused garage, just like this place was. You know, we converted the garage. This was a garage before. So it's got plenty of space. It's got living quarters upstairs and some empty space downstairs.
What's the
So-
zoning?
Zoning? Okay, the zoning on this thing is agricultural from the county, even though it's in the city. So we called Justin over at the city to ask him about how that works. So it would have to be changed to city agricultural, and then city agricultural is automatically permitted church use, provided of course you have to put in the requisite parking. But it's in the city of Alachua, if your property is zoned agricultural, its permitted use is as a church, automatically permitted use. Whereas, for example, here, residential, it's permitted with a permit. So it's contingent on having a permit. It's not contingent on having a permit if you're in the agricultural zone. So, but you're still required to put in the necessary parking and other stuff. But you don't have to go through the permission of getting a permit. So the process would be you have to go to the city. You have to say, we want to put a church, we want to change the use of this property to church. And they would say, well, where's your plan for your church? How are you going to lay it out? Are you going to build? And so on and so forth. And you'd have to pay, I think it was going to be about $8,000 to convert it, to do the paperwork for the zoning, rezoning. Or change of use.
Is that automatic, or can they deny it after you've paid that?
Well, I asked him about that. Changing the use or changing the zoning is something that's at the discretion of the city. But he said there would be no real good reason for them to deny it because it's all agricultural area right there. If we go to
Maybe at the moment.
Yes, they'll find a reason.
there's
if
a
they want
huge
to.
forest practically behind this property, and then right next to it's the animal hospital, which is commercial,
Right.
and then there's another church just before this. Like if you go a few hundred yards down east towards Gainesville, there's a church already there.
441 has innumerable churches.
I would
So-
like to pursue that if you could,
Pursue what?
this discussion, because you mentioned that a few other times.
Well, what I wanted to do initially is get everyone to decide, do we want to be a public preaching, do we want to have that public presentation, or do we want to live
Mike.
in the country?
So that's really the decision we need to make, because, if we're looking for property and we're saying, oh, this is a beautiful 45-acre property, it's lovely, the price is great, we should move there. And then we can have cows and we can grow things and la la la. And our kids can grow up there and everybody will be happy. Do we want that? Or do we want to be like Prabhupada always did, he says, I want to be in New York City, I want to be in Chicago, I want to be in Los Angeles, and I want to have a church in every one of them, a temple. And from there, we infiltrate. He used that word a lot, infiltrate. So that's what we have to decide. We are a preaching movement, and it's my assumption that that's really what we should be doing. But that's only my opinion, and everybody has to agree to it. Once we agree to it, then we can move with full force and full conviction to that end. But if everybody's saying, well, maybe, you know, I got this money, but I want to be in the country. I don't really want to be on 441. There's too many, you know, exhaust fumes, and people may, you know, do this and that to us. I don't know. We have to decide that. But I prefer that's what we should do. 441, there's already a bunch of churches there. We should be there too. And they drive along. Oh, there's the Krishnas. There's the Radha Krishna temple on 441. 40,000 people drive up and down that road every day, and more will be doing it because they're moving out to High Springs, they're moving out into the Alachua. That is very much seen. That's why Publix went in to where they are, and they're doing quite well there. So if that's what we want to do, that's what we have to decide.
You first.
I just, maybe this is too big of a thought and it's too not concrete, but I think it would be really cool to have both. To have a temple, maybe with a farm connected, or to have the big, very visible infiltration center that you're speaking of on 441. But why can't we, in addition, maybe far in the future, have a small preaching center in Gainesville, like Krishna House, but Gurudev favorable center?
Sure.
You know,
That's also
like they
You
have.
can do anything with men and money.
That would be so great, you know, to have both. And then whoever wants to preach can make it a big thing there. And the visiting Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis can, you know, I actually, Haridas Prabhu is interested in doing some kind of thing like that. So we might want to
called
head that
satellite centers. We want to establish, just like ISKCON has done. How many years have they been developing here? And, you know, whenever they have a program, thousands of people come. So that's what people expect. Oh, where's the church? Where's my church? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Oh, yeah, it's Gorpranim. Oh, it's, you know, this festival, that festival. I know it's going to happen there. And the other, you know, substations, sub-preaching centers, yeah, of course, that'll automatically happen because we are established, people are coming, they're seeing, you see the deities, beautiful deities. I mean, that's what Prabhupada said. If you take care of the deities, people will come and say, wow, this is fantastic. And then there are preachers, we have so many wonderful preachers. They can be convinced that this is what you should be doing with your life, people.
Who's preaching here? I mean, Maharaj is preaching little at the college, but who's preaching in this community?
You are preaching?
I'm
Mukund is
preaching,
preaching. So many people are preaching, but you know why? We don't have that center where everyone can say, this is my church. Just like ISKCON. You have so many devotees. Even my daughter, she says, this is my religion, this is my church. I'm going to go here. I've invited her here, but you know, it's like, I don't know. But there, it's like, okay, yes, these, oh, look at how many devotees here. Look how big that kirtan was. Look how beautiful the deities are. People, you know, see things on a visual. They don't go very deep. It's our requirement as devotees, as preachers, to teach them how to go deep. Here's the external presentation. Now let's go deep. What does it mean? Why do we have deities? So that's why the temple is. That's why I understand from Prabhupada. That's what he wanted to do. Here it is. I mean, look how powerful this is. If you think about it, if someone sits in front of you know, this altar, this is powerful. Who are these people? What are they doing? Why? And that's what he wanted. He wanted people to see that, and then we take it from there. That's all I'm saying.
So, what everybody is saying, it's wonderful. And what Didi also said, I wanted to say something like that. When we start something, we should also think about the future. Right now in ISKCON, why they have become so huge, when they started it was a small community.
Exactly.
But the idea was we should start something that will attract younger devotees with families and so forth. So if we have a nucleus of, we get a bigger place like that 45 acres, it may be a little far at the moment, but maybe 10 years from now, it could be the center of the city or a center of a whole new development. And we will be right there. Now, with those land, we can start school, which will be in the nucleus, an attraction for other things. We could have other things done. We could even start small, cottage industries there. This also we should have in mind. Yes, to get a place in the city, a preaching center. But if we can have a place where we have devotees come as a central point where the attraction is to be very wonderful. So we should also think about that. I'm just making a suggestion.
I want to say something. If one approach doesn't work, it doesn't mean that the whole idea should be rejected. Perhaps a different approach could be explored. For example, in the previous establishment it was mentioned that there are a few, not many, but there are a few well-to-do possible potential donors. And it was also discussed that these kind of people are very pragmatic. They want to see things well planned, and they can finance a small project or a big project. For them, it does not matter. But as long as they see something well planned. So if this is the case, Srila Prabhupada also wanted that when we go to hunting, look for an elephant or a rhino. A rhino. If you don't get it, nobody will blame you, but you will get something. So regarding this 45 acres property, another possibility would be if it is so difficult for the city, which I believe, to approve dividing the whole lot in several properties, perhaps a single property can be kept. And several, at each 5 acres, one house can be built legally without having, without need of approval.
No.
No, not
Sorry.
approval.
Cannot.
You cannot.
If you own the whole property, I think you can only have 2. But if you say, I want to put a house on each of these 5 acres, then you are essentially subdividing.
No.
So no? You see this all over the place.
If you own 45 acres, you're allowed to put 1 residence on each of the 5 acres. So you can have 6. What is it? 45 divided by 5.
These farmers. They have these big acres.
It's 9.
They have maybe a barn in their house and maybe.
What are they going to do with 5 houses? Most people
Although they're
don't want
relative.
Most people don't want
That's what
5
I would
houses to maintain.
Most people don't want their relatives living near them anyways.
Whatever.
So,
Okay.
if you want to sell off portions of the property, then yes, you would have to go through that. But if the temple owned all 45 acres and it simply wanted to build a residence, so many residences, I don't see that's a problem. You can ask Mukunda to check it.
Yeah, you should probably check.
Because the zoning, they have a density requirement. Like, there's a density limit. Says how many living spaces per acre. Like here we're in RSF 3. That means you're allowed 3 residences per acre. So because if we had an acre here, we'd be allowed to have 3 buildings or living spaces here. Because we have only 0.7, we're only allowed to have 2. And with the one upstairs is considered 1, and this downstairs is considered 2. RSF1, you only have 1 residence per acre. And then agricultural zoning, 1 residence per 5 acres.
So let's start with the premise that that's possible, that's doable. So one idea would be looking for a sponsor, a single sponsor who can buy the property. Look for another sponsor who can finance 9 properties. Those properties, I mean, not
Rent them
properties,
out.
those houses. Those houses will be rented off, and that will be a source of income for the temple. And the community at large, the small donors, would tip in to build the temple. So that would be a 3-phase plan. Buying the property, building houses to rent, and building a central temple for the whole community. So, in other words, the project will be almost self-sufficient, because if you have 9 properties generating funds in a monthly basis, there will be no struggle to maintenance, which is a big problem.
And another thing with that will be the moment we have that type of nucleus and families start coming in, I mean,
From all over the country.
they will come. And there are many Guru-Gate disciples all over who want somewhere where they can actually have as a community. And when that starts, it's going to be like a boomerang. People will be coming from all over.
Right. Just one thing that occurred to me, that property is actually landlocked in the sense that it doesn't have direct access to a public road. There's a dirt road from 236, and that road goes to other people's property. So in order to get the permission to do
right of way,
in order to do permission there, you would have to secure a legal right of access with the people who own those adjacent lots, an easement, yeah. And another thing is that's a pretty rinky-dink dirt road that leads back there, and you have to have construction trucks go in and out of there. Something would have to be done about that road. You may have to pave it or something, I don't know.
Did you ever have a property to show us? Do you have another one?
Well, that 45 acres, what we're talking about now is the 45 acre lot, which is the one I showed you the pictures of first.
That's the only 2 you have.
So far, I haven't finished with this one yet. Actually, I wanted to show a bit more. This is the view along 40. Let me just log in. So this is the view of 441 going towards High Springs. Now you can see that church there. This is some church.
So many churches.
And then if you go,
So many.
if you go a little bit further, there's a real estate, and then there's a bank here.
Right.
Some bank. This is the bank on the right
The
here.
hospital. Yeah, I
And then
know
the
the
animal
property.
hospital. And there's a big piece of land there. I just lost power.
Friedman, he's a friend of the devotees.
Your battery died?
I think. Here.
Can I ask a question while he's updating that?
It's on.
I know that we want to cover everything and make everything like totally squared away and good to go for people who will be joining our community, and so many people do move to our community. But I feel like it is a lot to think about. So what if we, why do the houses have to be on the same property as the temple? Why can't they be next door? Like, I feel like we should be just focusing on the property that has the temple, and later when the devotees come, because the temple is established, then we worry about getting a property and housing all those devotees and building homes for them. And do they even want that? We don't even know who they are yet. You know, maybe they'll just want to buy their own houses like everyone here. You guys already have your own houses. You're not going to move into the property with houses that is by the temple, so why worry about all those little houses now it seems like a huge overburden. Why don't you focus on the temple and maybe the school? And then people will come, maybe they will give donation towards the houses that will be needed so that they can be right next door to the temple. I don't know if that makes sense. It seems like
These are suggestions, very nice.
I don't know.
Well, I agree with you also, because one of the reasons is you have 9 houses to sell and a mediator wants to buy that house. Are you going to say no? Can you even legally say no? I'm just saying, so there's a lot of considerations taking something so big.
If the temple owned the 45 acres,
control.
they're not selling any houses. And there's no question of selling any houses. Because to sell a house, you have to sell the land that it's on.
Right.
And to sell the land it's on, you have to divide that piece of land away from the rest of it, which gets back to the original problem that you have to put in roads with proper access to each of those individual things. Then you get to the whole expensive subdividing.
Well, even with the ISKCON property, they had people living in the front and on the side, and it's caused huge conflict now, where people putting up privacy fences and everyone complaining, and it's so I kind of agree with what you said. Is I think it's a Pandora's box potentially, but yeah, you have all this money and income coming in, but then you have all this headache, and it becomes a business, multi-year business of trying to manage it and attract people, and what the real focus is on the temple and the right location, right? That's what we're really.
So anyway, just getting back to this property.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
You know, when we think of building 9 houses, that sounds like an enormous deal, but there are some really cool, like, modular homes now that could just be plucked on there. You know, Ram Dass's property up in Cobb Lake, he just put these gorgeous modular homes plucked all over the place. They're not expensive. And they're going to be, you know, he's going to rent those out. Just the thought, you know, building 9 homes for a huge amount of money but this is not. Doesn't have to be that big of an investment. And they're very, very nice.
So back to this property, this is the view from, you can see, this is 441, there is the Santa Fe Ford over there, and
Santa Fe what?
Santa Fe Ford, the Ford dealership, car dealership. And here's the view of that house.
I'd love to see us.
So behind this house, there's basically a forest, and there's a total of 3 acres on this particular lot. So half of that 3 acres is just trees in the back. So one possibility would be to build a temple on that lot behind this house, on the other side of the house. So you would have an acre and a half there for the temple, and then this property's on another acre and a half. So one thing about this property is that it's available. It's within reach in the sense that if we were to sell this place, we would have almost enough money to buy it. So we could almost move there, you know, pretty quickly if we wanted to. Buying 45 acres or, you know, something like that. If we could probably find another piece of land also, say 10 acres for $150,000, not here, I'm just saying in general. You can find land here and there in Alachua. It goes for about 10, sometimes 20,000 an acre, depending on the area and the flood zoning and all that stuff. So let's say you wanted to buy just 10 acres. Well, it's maybe 150, maybe less, but you would have just empty land. So then you've got to consider, well, where's Takuji going to go? Because if you want to sell this place, Takuji has to move, and then if you already have this piece of land, then what's Takuji going to do between now and when you build something? So there's the time constraint also. With this property, you could put Takuji in this house, you could build the temple in the back, and then when the temple is ready, you move Takuji over there, and then you could even rent this house out. So that's a possibility. It's one of many different possibilities, but the attractiveness of this is that it's on the highway, it's got public exposure, it's available now. I do believe the seller is willing to negotiate because it's hard for them to sell. When I asked the one realtor why this house has been on the market so long, he said nobody wants to have their house on the highway.
Yeah.
So it's ideal for a church or some kind of commercial venture, but for people to live, they don't want to live right on the highway. At least that's what he told me. But it's very nicely kept property, beautiful property, perfect condition.
What about parking?
Parking,
You'd have to make that.
we would have to put in all the required parking and everything for our temple. Now, in the meantime, you know, what's the city going to do if we move Takuji there and start having programs there without, you know, that could be a problem. But again, it's on Highway 441. There's no neighbors. The next door neighbor on this side is an animal hospital, and there's no neighbor on this side. It's empty land, and across the street. So who's going to complain about parking? I mean, there's enough space on the property to cram cars here and there.
Yeah.
You know, there's land there, and we could probably get away with it for long enough. You know, I don't know.
How does this kind of handle parking though? Because they don't have any fixed parking. It's everyone just parks on the grass. Is that allowed?
That's
in
their
there?
parking.
Well, I know it's their parking, but they
have
didn't
a
fix.
parking lot.
They have a paved parking lot.
Yeah, if you have accommodations for cars sufficient for the attendees, then you're
You don't
fine.
care.
They
So it
don't worry.
doesn't matter.
The
whether
city
it's paved or not,
says,
just be
the
grass.
city,
Exactly.
the city,
Okay.
first of all, the temple is in county. They're in different rules
Okay, that's what I
than
was
the
wondering.
city.
So.
This is in the city, and we're in the city here. City says you need a minimum number of paved parking lots.
Right.
You can have more than that, and you can have people parking anywhere they want, so long as you have the minimum.
What's the minimum?
Well, it's one parking space
For 6.
per 40 square feet of your worship area,
Okay.
or per 6 seats if you have like a church with seats in it. So here, because we have 500 square feet or something like that, we got like 12, 13 something
Do
parking
you have
lots.
permission to be a church here, unlike this place?
Sorry?
Like here, we don't have permission to be a church. Do you have permission there?
Right.
A
So
little easier, right?
what would be required to have permission to have a church there would be, we'd have to change the zoning to agricultural city, not agricultural county. There's a whole thing, you see. This lot was originally part of the county, not part of the city. It was absorbed within the city.
Right.
Because the city limits are just right next to this property. You just one step and you're outside in the city limits. So this property was absorbed into the city, but its zoning is in limbo. If people continue to use it for whatever it was originally used for, i.e. Single family residence, it's no problem. But as soon as you want to do any development on this property, or you want to change its use, then you have to officially designate it in one of the Alachua city zoning categories. Because right now it doesn't have a city zoning category. It's in a limbo from being in the county, and they just why should they bother changing it? If people are just living there, they've always lived there.
Right.
But if you wanted to build something on this property, or you wanted to change its zoning, even the church that's a few blocks down that I showed you, even though they were grandfathered in because they were there long before any of these rules came in, if they were to try to build another piece of thing on their property, they'd have to do the same thing and convert it, because they're also Alachua County zoning like that.
Mm.
So it's just a technicality, but it would be, there's no guarantee, of course. I mean, they can say, no, we won't change it for you or whatever, but basically, if you pay them the fees, that's their job, to collect money, to give you permission and stuff like that. And because it's surrounded by commercial zonings, there's not so much stricture about, like if you're in residential, you've got to put bushes and all kinds of borders between you and the neighbors so they can't see your ugly whatever.
You still have to notify your neighbors that this is what's going on, and they have to be a part of the process.
Well, whenever you do any construction, generally there's some kind of announcement.
And noise,
May I ask a
noise
question?
ordinances and stuff.
I wonder where there's a freeway right there. I mean, it's a highway.
That looks like it's,
Don't worry about that. It's commercial zones. So
Yeah.
It's right next to a commercial property. So.
May I just ask you a question? I'm curious. Why is the county or the council trying to be so strict now? Is it because so many people are moving from down
It's our
south?
job, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's their job. Their job as elected city officials is to enact the statutes of the city. That's all. They
Their
enact the
job is
statutes.
to
That's
say
their job.
no.
Their job is to say these are the rules and we have to enforce them.
Yes.
But I was thinking because of the hurricane, and many people from the south are moving to central Pennsylvania and other places. It's attracting, so they want to just be strict so that they are able to.
Well, Alachua City is kind of got a reputation for being a little strict.
Okay.
Some of the like High Springs, they're not hot. They're not so strict.
Strict and corrupt.
So
They have
that's
the
just the way it is
reputation
here.
of one of the most corrupt city officials.
Oh, you're live.
Oh,
you just say that live?
I just gave it away.
Prabhu?
The city, he's talking about the city. Anyway, that's the rumor. But,
It's a fact.
I don't know when we're finishing, and I do want to give this time, but at some point, could I just have like a 5-minute slot to talk about the school? Maybe at
no,
the
you
end?
should have said that. You should have told us at the beginning when we had the agenda.
Oh, she
I
wasn't
was
here.
late. Which is bad,
You're snoozing
I know.
late. No, I'm
but,
not. Just kidding.
I
Just
didn't even know that
qualifying.
happened.
Go ahead. Does that anyone else want to just finish anything?
So
It
this
doesn't
is-
have to be now.
this is the only
That was
property?
then- there was another property. There was another property when this gentleman Dwayne, the contractor, when he came over to do the contract signing,
Oh, he had.
then he brought his friend with him. His friend, I don't remember his name now. Anyway, so he said, "Oh, my friend's got a piece of property he's trying to sell, and it's an interesting location." Now, his mother died, and so he, inherited the house, but there's a big mortgage on it, and he can't afford to pay it. So they're trying to do a short sale or something on it. But when we actually talked to the realtor who's dealing with it, and he said, "Oh, if you came up with $250,000, that would probably make everyone happy." And I was like, "Okay," but and then so we went over to see the property. Maharaj went to see it. So you can see this is downtown Alachua. So you head down 441, and then you take that shortcut. Well, actually, don't go down. You just take Rachel Boulevard. Everybody knows Rachel Boulevard. That's this road that goes from just across the street there, just before the railway tracks. You take that shortcut, it leads out onto 441. So that starts here, the shortcut. Then you go down for that 245. You go underneath 441, and you keep going. And this is where it comes out on 441. So if we zoom in right there, just where this is where it comes out onto the highway. So the property in question is here. This property right here. So can everyone see this property right here? Maybe they can't see because the camera's not playing.
Is it residential area?
Yeah. Farming.
Agricultural zone.
Is it in the city or the county?
This is in the city.
Probably in the city,
Yeah. But it's already agricultural, so church is not a problem there, provided you put in your parking.
There's a big railroad track right in front of it.
Yes, the railroad runs right
The
along.
same one that goes along here
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you see, it's a
But
little
that's
bit.
good. You
There's
should
the
do
railway
that.
track, and it's on the other side of those.
But I think they run
Beautiful.
at midnight as well, right?
Yeah, midnight, any hours.
Location's pretty cool.
It's cool.
There's the beautiful railroad track.
This is the property in
Dirt
here.
road.
Can't really see much there. This is the neighbor is very well kept property
Kept
right
neighbor,
next to it.
yeah.
Beautiful lawn, and
Yes.
his property is not so well kept. Actually, I got some pictures on my phone that I took when I was over there. If I can get those up on the screen. So it's not officially for sale. It's actually in the pre-foreclosure stage. And
So 250 would
250 would make them happy
pique
because
their interest?
yeah.
Actually, you can bring it down.
Of course, I mean that would be negotiable. From what we could glean from talking to them, they owe about 150 on it, so they're trying to make some money off of it,
I'd start out.
So Haridas went over there with us, and he said, give them 150.
Yeah, that's what I would
But that means that the owner won't get any money out of it, and therefore he won't be particularly motivated to sell it because he just hang on to it because the foreclosure process takes years. So he could just stay around like Vedanta Suguru had this property up there. He had it for years and years before they finally took it away from him. So unless he's going to get some money out of it, why should he bother? He just keep living there for a few years. So that would be the main issue. We may have to pay more than it's actually worth to get it.
Can I ask
Oh.
2 questions?
Yes.
Maybe dumb questions. One, how come nobody wants to do the church idea? That's my first question.
Which
Could
church?
you expand on that
I
a
mean,
bit?
the church, when I think of a church, I think of a great big building that has big halls and lots of rooms, so that immediately you talk about devotees being ready to come from far away. Immediately people could start moving in and participating. That's one of my questions.
We don't have a church.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm asking. Why isn't anybody except Govinda Prabhu interested in getting a church?
If you have an empty church,
What you buying a church and converting it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
if we have an old church,
There aren't.
Not necessarily, but yeah, that's a good idea, but they're generally not too many are
There's not many
available.
churches for sale.
It's not like it used to be in the
I thought you
sixties.
said there's so many.
no.
Yeah, they're
There
not
are
for
many
sale.
churches, but they're occupied
Oh, I
and
see.
they're, they're
I see.
conducting their business. You got the Baptist, you got the Catholic there, you
A
got
really
the.
big Baptist church right here. Every
So,
Sunday at 10 o'clock.
Here's some pictures of this property. That's the house.
5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
What's this? Is this the same property?
Yeah, there's a big old barn there.
So it's all dilapidated.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the house is, the basic construction is the brick.
There's the Brahmachari ashram.
There's your barn.
No, this is
This is the horse barn.
husband.
That's what I mean.
That's totally what it is.
And
More horses.
You'll see the horse later. There's the land there.
One horse,
Way back.
one barn for one horse.
Now going inside the house, so you can see a lot of junk everywhere because the guy he doesn't clean it or anything. So
The
There's a-
owner, the son who inherited from the mother is living there.
No, the mother
Yes.
is gone. Yeah.
yeah, he
Mother
lives
is
there.
gone?
There he is on the right. You see the guy with the hat on?
Okay.
That's him. He actually had pictures of like Lord and Srinivas and various.
Is that a pool?
persons and
Yes,
stuff,
there's
yeah.
a pond. Yeah.
So there's a pool outside,
Outside.
just outside the house.
Is that a pool or is that a?
It's
a pool, but
converted
it's
into
not-
a pond.
A
The
pond.
whole thing is not very well maintained, as you can see. That's another
That's
picture of the
dangerous.
inside. There he is again,
Love that. Oh my God.
Maharaj.
What was his mood when you were talking to him?
Oh,
He's a nice guy.
Nice guy. He's a bit like psychedelic and, into
Oh.
all kinds of things. He has pictures, I said, like Lord Shiva, he's got a statue of, was it Buddha
that may be
or
perfect.
Ganesh and
Then you have
various
to
things.
appeal to his spiritual side of what you're doing and why and how important
That's his,
it is.
that's his altar. He has
Look,
this
he's
little
got an
altar.
altar,
Yeah.
come on.
It's got Kali and everybody on there.
Everybody's there.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question? What's the use of getting a place where hardly anybody can live?
Well,
Like here, that looks like the same amount of people can live, or less people
then
can
here.
live in the place.
Right, it's about 3 or 4 bedrooms up there's the
Oh,
horse.
there's the horse.
So there's about 3 bedrooms upstairs. So they actually,
Way back.
in terms of number of rooms for people to live, we're doing pretty good here. I mean, it's hard to beat this place.
I
It's
have,
hard to find a property that has a lot of rooms on it for anything we can afford right now.
I have a question also.
Mike?
No, it's not necessary.
We're not asking your opinion about what it's necessary. We don't want your opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, what is coming to my mind is moving to a house would solve an immediate problem, but there's no hope for the future. So, we can congregate, we cannot congregate here, but we could there. But there's no possibility for expansion, very little possibility to accommodate guests, and what to speak about, future candidates who wants to move and experience the project. So it's a big endeavor. It's the next step, but it has to be a step in the right direction, because we cannot afford more mistakes. Otherwise, the whole community will be, going backwards in time.
More discouraged.
I like the idea of a church, even if we have to build, and 441 seems to be the place to
What?
build. 441
Oh.
seems to be the place to,
That's right, there are already
and,
churches there, they can't.
and they all make projects and they build. They do not, just utilize existing properties. They build. They make a project. They do something incredible.
Have you seen the Catholic Church there? They have every building from when they first started till now. They got this little church, old, wooden structure, then they've got this metal building, and they've got like 4 or 5 incarnations of their churches that are still there. You can go into the original one and sit down and, wow, this is how they started out. And then you go into their really big one, big metal building. And there's an Indian pastor there.
Indian pastor.
I hope one day, if anybody is interested, we make a journey to North Carolina, to the Blue Ridge Mountain, very close to where Madame and this thing were. In the Blue Ridge Mountain, this transcendental meditation or one of them, this guy was a rich man, so he bought the land and built a place for about 40 million. 40 million. It's a beautiful place. And then there was a fallout. He told them, everybody move out. So the place was lying idle for so long, and it needed some repairs. So he sold it for only 3 or 4 million, from 40 million to 3 or 4 million to an organization. And they used about 3 or 4 million to repair everything. And now ISKCON devotees go there every year for retreats. Every year they go
for the Sadhu Sangha Festival, right?
Yes. And it's so beautiful. I'm thinking, why can't we?
You trying to make us feel bad?
Well, it's also like 2 hours from the nearest airport. So it's really remote, super remote.
It's very remote, but if you drive there and you stay there, you will just love it. They have building, how do you call it? Places you can rent for cottages and beautiful place.
A lot of residents,
A lot of different places. And the temple, they have a major temple which can accommodate about 5,000 people. Then on the side, they have Krishna temple, Ganesh temple, and that can accommodate about 300 people each.
Wow.
It's so interesting. I'm just thinking.
We just need $40 million. That's all.
No, we don't. But what I'm saying is that something like this, we look at it and we have a plan. We say, we have to build something. Not in that order, but something like he's saying, so we can have it down. Because we are thinking of now. What about the future?
Yeah, I agree.
So do we want to have the temple separate and then residence for the devotees next to it, or together? Because there's a lot of considerations.
The temples normally should be separate.
Yeah. So
what do you think, Mother?
Don't ask me that.
No, what do you...
Sorry you asked me.
No. Well, I'm just giving
We're sorry. So many people have spoken. We're sorry. But go ahead.
I just keep saying the same thing that I always say. We, and everyone, and no one, and they, and we, and I, and they, and we. There's no head in this temple. The head doesn't have time to be the head.
Yes.
If there's no head, the body is mad or dead. So all these talks to me is just spinning our wheels. And I'm not even encouraged to come to any more as devotees. I love Indu Prabhu. I think he's doing fantastic to help this temple, but we don't really have a temple. We don't have a family here of people who are interested to come. This girl here, she's a professional who was here. She's a professional family and something or other therapist and community building therapist. She's a professional. And I was going to introduce her to the community here today if it would have shown up. And I was going to she's offering her services for free. Not like that other guy who charged a gigantic $12 a time for everybody. But to help the devotees to, like, what do you like about this place? What is inhibiting you from coming here and being a family regularly at least once a week? What's bothering you? Let's see if you could work things out so that if somebody, doesn't look at you the right way, you don't come back for a year. Like building relationships. Building relationships that work, building, a family, how to really follow the scriptures of, like, not desiring any respect and being respectful to everybody, knowing how to talk to each other. So that's what I was going to do here, but then nobody came anyway.
Maybe you should have introduced.
And I'm to who? Everybody here in this room already gets along well. So I'm not even enthused to come to any more Istigoses because, he's doing a fabulous job and I fall at his feet. And everybody here is making great suggestions. But in my opinion, nothing's going to happen because we don't have a head. We don't have a board that deals with things. It just does a few little legal things. And they don't know what's happening. When I asked Arjun to come here, if he was coming, I said, what's the use of having an Istagosti if you're not here? And he said, well, I can't because I need vacation, which is totally true. But then again what? Yeah, he said, well, I'm just happy that Indupati and Mukunda are doing everything.
He said that?
To do it, unless I heard wrong. So this temple doesn't have a functional head that can make anything that your bright ideas are going to be able to accomplish into anything. What to speak of 40 million, even 100,000. In my opinion, nothing's going to happen because we don't have a head. And I'm sorry you asked me.
No, that is the point. Yes, exactly. We have to get to the center point. And, lately I've been reading a lot of Prabhupada's letters that he's written to the devotees. And from the very beginning, that was his main business, is to who would be a good leader. And he would always seek out that person, and he would give them that responsibility. And he nurtured them through the whole process because, we'd never done anything like this. But they had that tendency to be a leader, to want to lead. And so he just, finely tuned them. And he always told them all, don't be jumping around, don't go here, don't go there. Sit tight in your place and develop it. And be that person that people can get behind. And you have to make spiritual advancement yourself. You can't just be a figurehead. You have to be that person who's, getting up and chanting and reading and, preaching. So, you're right, Shamarani. This is what obviously has been lacking. There are people who have stepped up and tried, but it's not the easiest thing to do. And Prabhupada saw that also with many of his men. It became very difficult for them. But how else do you make advancement but by taking on that tapasya? You called it a tapasya. So, what I would like to say, we have a fantastic Vaishnava here in our midst, who has taken sannyas, the renounced order of life, and Prabhupada really, really wanted to make sannyasis because they have no material desires, they have no selfish interests, and without that it's difficult to lead, and that's why people were surrendering to Prabhupada left and right, because they could see that. So, my suggestion is, if we have a sannyas who is renounced, and people see, yes, this man is renounced. He doesn't have a cottage, he doesn't have his own private car, he is dedicated completely to the deities here. That's the kind of man I want to see, or woman, doesn't matter. So, my suggestion is, if we can convince Prabhu to remain here, and he can also, travel, because Prabhupada wanted the sannyasis also to travel. But they are the person that people recognize. Just like every church, they have a priest, they have a pastor, right? Everybody accepts. Oh, he's the priest, he's the pastor. I have a problem, I go to him. I'm, losing my faith in Jesus, I'm going to go and talk with him. And he convinces them, no. You must remain firm. So that's all Prabhupada did. He says, yes, you must remain firm. This is how you do it. Get up, do your rounds, be serious, be sincere, be sober-minded, be cool-headed. He said it all. So that's what we need to establish here, as far as I'm concerned. And it's always been that issue. Who's going to be that person? So I am nominating.
It is,
but it's up to you.
It's like this. This is like.
I don't think the mic's working.
Hello. It's very good idea. When I came here with Madame before, I was thinking, I'm not going to do it, but I will be here to help. Come to the program every day, be an inspiration. So that's why when I came, my first talk, I was stressed and I said, where is everybody? And devotees got angry with me. And they said, how could you speak like that? And I was a little bit, taken aback. I said, hold on. I went a little bit too far, so I don't want to do that. If I can be here and help, travel, and even Mother, thank you very much, Mother Shamarani Didi, she's been encouraging me. I'm here, I want to go. But I said, no, I want to be here for some time and see what is happening. If not, I'll open a temple in Gainesville, of which I've gone there to look at some properties and a little bit, too much. So he promised, he said, you can do it. And I said, who is going to help? He said, I can help you some. So he told me, I won't forget that. So if we can do that, I'll be here. I don't want to take over anybody's. I don't want to take over anybody's.
No, we're not suggesting that.
Just to be here to help. Mother Shamarani Didi is always here. I'll call you Mother because you are Mother also.
I'm just old.
No. Forget about that. I'm using the ISKCON term. So, if we cannot do that, I don't mind being here to help, but that is, if everybody agrees for me to help, not to be the temple president, to pre-temple anything.
Why not?
But just no, I can't be a president. No, that one is out. I just want to be somebody who can say, let's do it together, like call everybody every day, every morning, have a program, even if it's a small group. When I came here, I couldn't do that because I was told from the beginning the temple is under, quarantine, you have. So I was thinking, then I backed off until she came back and she started something, it's okay. So if we can do that, great. Then I wouldn't bet on it that I will be here all the time to, guarantee that everybody is here. Even I want to go to people's houses. I went to some people, they said, come back another time, and we'll invite you. And I said, I went there 2 times. One time I went and I was in the parking lot, called. He said, no, we are not ready yet. So I said, okay. That's why I backed off a little bit. Sorry, I didn't tell you this because I didn't want. So I backed off. I said, no, people are not ready yet.
Maharaj, but I think it's not just a matter of the need of encouragement. I
I think that it's not just a matter of the need of encouragement, but more than that. What it seems that has been said is the need of leadership. Leadership. A binding element that can unify all the resources, human resources, material resources, and put that into motion, And for example, what's the name of that sannyasi in Bangalore?
Dandi Maharaj.
No.
Vaikanas Maharaj. Vaikanas Maharaj is a sannyasi, he's a preacher, he travels, but he's there managing
He made a gigantic temple.
a construction of a big temple.
Just like Dandi Maharaj also.
Yeah.
Dandi Maharaj,
Yes.
We also built a temple.
Look at Gorgovinda Maharaj. Prabhupada sent him to Bhubaneswar, Orissa. Where did he send him? Into a field with a little hut, and he just sat there and chanted. And then gradually, boom, a big temple.
So the big problem here that Didi pointed out indirectly is a lack of identity. We don't have an identity. We don't know where to go. There are ideas, but there's nobody carrying the torch and, we are going to do this. Of course, it's not going to be a one-man decision, but we need to have an identity. And an identity, at the end of the day, rests in one person. When you think of Bangalore, you think of Dandi Maharaj, you think of Vaikanas Maharaj. You don't think about the pujari, the congregation, you think about that person. And we need that sense of identity.
Who do you think about when we think about Houston? There's no one person there, but they've got a nice big temple.
Those are Indians.
No, that, because Guru Dev was there, and when Guru Dev wanted something to be done, people came together. We were there that day. Guru Dev was, it was like, yes, who can give more? Who can? Yeah. And everybody was chipping. People were giving thousands.
I don't know if they would be able to do the same now without Srila Guru Dev.
They may not.
No way.
And they've been friends, families working together for so many years, that community.
Yes.
Since the 90s, those people have been together, working together. So it's a different situation.
Yeah.
And these people are also...
What about Badger? Which person is running Badger?
Govinda?
Giriraj.
Govinda Priya.
Well,
husband.
And not only that, in Baja, it's like an organic thing. It's like Gitanagri, where the people already are there established. And Gurudev came in and they accepted Gurudev. You follow me? So it's things have been going on already.
Well, things have been going on here also. It's not like there's nothing happening here.
Yeah, there's something happening.
I mean, we've been here for how long? 20 years?
No, but there's a difference.
We're just talking about moving forward.
Right.
One
So
is to create something, the other is to maintain something.
Right.
To maintain.
Right. So there are different departments. For example, somebody who's in charge of dealing with day-to-day headaches, like that's your temple president. Temple president doesn't have to have a vision of a brand new temple.
Right.
You can have a board of a few devotees who want to do the necessary groundwork. It doesn't have to be one person. There's so many senior devotees here that can work together in a small groups. I was just at a meeting with Brahmatirtha Prabhu and some of his cohorts the other day. They are organizing a science conference, science and consciousness conference for 2019. So Brahmatirtha invited me to come because I was with Sadhpuja and so on. So I said, okay, I'll come. And so, there's maybe 6 or 7 devotees there, and they're basically assigning, okay, who's going to take the responsibility for this? Oh, I'll do that. Okay, so then you go off and do that, and then they have another meeting the next week, and they come back and say, well, what's happened on that? And it's because they're mature devotees with some sense of duty and responsibility, and they just do what they have to do. and they're very friendly with each other, and they get along, and so on and so forth. They each have different skills. Brahmatirtha is very expert in just organizing, getting people together, making people feel comfortable, and then you have someone, there's one lady who runs the publishing of that Krishna ISKCON newsletter or something, and then there's Mataresh's daughter was there also, that's Gundicha's sister was there, and then Tamarapani, who I work with Sadhaputta, and some couple of devotees, one who's a PhD in quantum mechanics, and one who is in the university here, is an assistant professor, young gentleman. So, you know, they're getting, I mean, they're not like, they don't have thousands and millions of dollars, but they, you know, they're just figuring out step by step, okay, we need to organize a conference, let's do it, you make contact here, you do this, you do that. And they get stuff done. So why can't we do that? I don't see any reason why we can't. We have very senior, you know, level-headed devotees here, many of which are in this room. And so we simply have to form a cohesive board. I mean, that was pretty much what we did last time.
Yeah, we did that.
The problem is, it really needs a coordinator, like Brahmatirtha is for this. Who is that person who's going to go and say, okay, what have you done since the last, you know, what's happening? Or at least to call a meeting, or to like Chamani Didi said, and I said this also at the last meeting, about a head. The head doesn't have to be the shining acharya, you know, that everybody's going to bow down to. It doesn't have to be that person. It's a person with the requisite skills, that's all. To coordinate and to make people feel comfortable and encouraged and so on and so forth. I think Shamani did great for this job.
Yes, but she's shaking her head.
So it basically, someone who can coalesce the individual talents of the group of devotees.
Prabhupada used that word. You give direction. That's
So,
all he said. I'm giving direction.
Right. I mean, I think Govinda could do it, Maharaj could do it, Mukunda could do it, I could maybe do it, and
okay, so you have many could do it.
So at least we can get together the devotees who are, you know, have something to contribute, and get them all in a room together, and maybe someone will naturally appear as that coordinator, or two of them together or something.
Yeah.
No, in this Sangha, devotees are very reluctant to take a position because they know that as soon as they take a position, everyone's going to criticize you.
And that's what happened to you.
Yes. And it's a hard job because it's a thankless task. Like we criticize Arjuna, Arjuna this one.
No,
How much responsibility?
Yeah. It's fabulous.
So we need devotees with Arjuna's skills to just like get things done in the day-to-day basis to make sure that someone has to make sure the daily services of the temple are going on. The money is here to pay for the bills. He's already doing that. But that's not the same job description as building a new temple and the vision. It's not the same thing. So we shouldn't put this burden on the management of this temple. In fact, we could build a new temple even without anything to do with this temple. We don't need, if we can get millions of dollars from these wealthy people, why do we even care about selling this place or what the money goes to? Let's just go and do it. That's sometimes the devotees, they think they look to someone else that they have to do it. No, why you don't do it yourself? So we all have 4 arms, right? No, we all have 2 arms and 2 legs and a tongue and eyes and a brain. So what distinguishes one devotee from another, that he can do it and you can't do it?
One who does it.
No, the problem is many devotees have come through this and they are like bent out and they say, we don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah, fried.
They are fried.
The word.
Yeah.
I'm fried, Prabhu.
Yes. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be in conflict with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. This is what is happening.
So you need somebody who knows how to talk to people.
Even those who know how to talk to people, in the long run, they have some conflict, and then they feel, no, I'm fried now. I don't want to do this. So it's true that you know, as of now, if I can beg Shamarani Didi, we are just this one if we can get this place very good, built for good day, as a center where everybody, it can be like in the West, this is our, place that people can come to. That's why I'm thinking if we have to do it, let's do it nicely, that it will attract everybody around. And when they come here, they can be moving here. So we need somebody like yourself. I'm here, I will help, but somebody who can coordinate the things.
I'm not a manager, but Santi is. She could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is she willing to stay?
No. She's
No.
living in.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
living in Vermont.
So
You
that
can't
is
nominate anybody who's not willing to stay.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
right.
who's willing to stay? Raise your hands.
And I'm leaving in April, at the end of April.
Yeah, see, that's another problem, yeah. People,
That's
and,
it,
no
people.
harm, you have to do what you have to do, but what happens when I'm telling you, I'm reading Prabhupada's letters, and all of these problems, he addressed every
But
one
you're
of them.
staying, what about you?
you.
Me?
Yeah,
You're staying.
you're great.
Very good. Very good.
You're
Now you
not-
on the
You're
spot.
secret.
Now.
Right?
Boomerang. The boomerang has
When
hit.
I ask you to do anything,
Careful what you
you're supposed to
okay.
say, don't ask me to do anything.
Huh?
When I ask you to do a little thing.
That's right, I said don't ask me to do anything, that is
Yeah,
correct.
because you
Never
fried.
ask me
I
to
am
do
guilty.
anything.
You are.
I am guilty, I admit, I am guilty.
So let's see, what can we accomplish with 100 devotees who don't want to do anything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
What about
It's
the
zero,
school?
zero, zero,
Okay,
zero.
okay.
What about the school, everybody?
Oh, she wants to talk about
The
the school.
school will rally people. It will rally
That's
new
right.
people
Where's the
who
school?
are
Also needs a head,
inspired.
and it doesn't have a head.
Where's the school?
I'm the head
Where's
of
the
the
school?
How?
I'll
Where's
teach
the
the
school?
whole thing.
Where's
You'll
the
teach, but
school?
who's gonna manage?
It doesn't exist yet.
Okay. So, we have to, one step at a time, just like ISKCON, they just had, a few
Well, maybe the
acres.
school will come first.
100
I
acres.
am dedicated to
Then
being the
make it
school
happen.
person.
Then
I'm
make it
gonna do
happen.
all the research. I'm gonna make
You're
the
gonna get a
building
building
happen.
and-
Yes, I wanna do it all.
Do it.
So then,
The
you'll
only
have,
teacher
you'll have a
at the
school
beginning,
somewhere.
And then more
Do it.
people will come.
You'll have a school somewhere, then where do
Well,
the parents
exactly.
go?
I don't. That's.
You need a
one of
school
my
for the
questions.
parents.
If I can.
You're gonna teach the parents what?
No, I can't do the school for parents. This isn't really working. I'm dedicated to being the head school person. I did some research on charter schools in Alachua County. It's very similar to getting anything. You have to do a whole plan. You have to present the plan. You have to be on a,
Do you have a
present
degree
it to a
in-
board.
in education?
I have a degree in English, and I'm currently getting my full-time Alachua County teacher certification.
Good, you
So
got
that
it.
they will see that an approved person is working at the charter school. I'm studying for the test, and I'm taking it in about a month. And then right then, if we had something, but of course we won't have something yet, but I had a few questions actually, because I'm doing the research. I'm going to call people like all over the world so that I can make a vision statement of like 10 pages or something, maybe longer. And then I have to go and present it to the Alachua Department of Education or whatever. And then there's an approval period. And then there's a small board of the public, like regular citizens, and they hear about it. And then it goes kind of back to the board again. There's a couple different steps like that. But I'm willing to do it all. I know some deities in the community who have kids or who are interested in helping. So when I have to show a force of more than one person, my plan is to bring them with me. But until they're needed, I'm just going to do it myself.
But could they ask you already? The Hare Krishna people have charter schools here. Why do you need another?
Yeah.
Can they ask you that?
From what I gathered from research, Alachua County is interested in having more charter schools.
That charter school is completely chock full and there's people on a waiting list.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
Plus,
too many
You cannot preach
devotees
religion
needed
in this school.
exactly, that's the thing. I want it to be a charter school like where I went in New Braj, Gurudev's Gurukul in New Braj. I don't know if it was approved or not, I don't know the technicalities, but we did bhajans every morning. We learned verses every morning. We did that first before
So they
we
do
started
that in this
the
country?
academics. I think they do it at Bhaktivedanta
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah.
I've heard
Yeah,
they have
that's
an
not
altar,
charter means
but
it's
at
not
Logical
charter
Learning
funding.
Academy, no.
If you
Charter
get
Logical
government
Learning
funding,
Academy doesn't do all
Charter
if
that.
you get
means-
government funding, you cannot
Yes.
teach religion.
Yes, exactly.
This is not religion.
I don't know,
this
we
is
were an
law.
official charter school.
Where?
In New Bruges, maybe they were doing it under the table
Probably.
or something, hiding the bhajans,
Yeah.
but we did
No, you can
bhajans.
do it with the kids.
We did the
Then,
state
but when
dance.
you go to the school, you don't do it. You don't teach it.
We never had anyone come and inspect though, maybe that's why we got away with it. I don't remember any inspectors.
It's so far away.
Sneaky
But I was
schedule there,
good, so
no.
maybe I
You're
was
gonna
like
be
sneaky
inspected,
inspectors
believe
and they
me.
were there.
Who's got the mic?
It's
With a
different, it's New
microscope.
Bruges. No one wants to drive up that road,
Hey,
so, you know.
yeah.
But anyway, I'm working on it and I'm dedicated to it and I just need to know, you know, where to put the building. Where to put the building. That's what I.
That's
the
why I'm
only-
saying if we
everything
have a
else I
bigger
can do.
place.
The kids are here, the parents are here, it's all.
Okay, so
maybe 5
because it's
days
getting
in.
late, I would suggest that we have a plan for another meeting at which we can maybe bring some more concrete information. I think I'll do some research on just lots, pieces of land that are for sale. See if there's anything available relatively close by, and we'll reconvene in a few weeks, and hopefully we can try to encourage everyone you know to come to the next meeting. And
Well, you know, the way the temple has been communicating is good. Chaitanya Shakti and her good husband Haridas have been doing the emails. So, I mean, I'm not on Facebook, so email seems to be good, and if it's presented in a nice, authoritative manner, because that's what people want to see. Are they organized? Do they have their thing together? Okay, yeah, I'll go. But, you know, we have to look. Perception is everything. I don't know, people don't understand this, but it's quite true. Everyone sees things according to their own perception. So we have to be very keen to understand that. So we have to present it. If we want Istagosi where everybody's going to come, we have to make sure the board members are here. We should not have a meeting without the board members. I'm sorry. Unless we're just talking, then that's okay. But if we want to make decisions and we want to make concrete movement forward, then they have to be there. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not cutting you off. He said something which we all agreed. That why do we have to even deal with the board members here? Now, we want something that we want to do, which is separate from this. So why don't we create a board members right now, separate from the board members of the temple at the moment here? What do you think about
Board
that?
members of another group.
Yes, so that those take on the project, so that the people here are left alone to help.
well, we can create a
With their permission.
committee.
With their permission.
Committees are fine.
We can create a
But to come
committee.
another board
Like
member?
the temple, board members are required, board members are
Legally, they're
legal,
required.
the legal controllers of a corporation.
Yes.
So
If
if
we
we're talking
could-
about forming another corporation and creating board members for that corporation, that's another thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
just in terms of coming up with when in ISKCON they had this, what do they call it, the Temple Planning Committee or something?
Exactly.
So, like we have some outline of that in that email, that slide I put up there. So, what I do believe that it requires a smaller focused group of devotees to have meetings at their own convenience. And like we have here, but a little more, like we need Mukunda Prabhu and others who are part of those different committees, just to organize their own meetings
Yes.
and come up with something concrete that they can present to the group of devotees and en masse at a bigger Istagosi, because you're not going to get many decisions made
And a bigger.
with a huge a huge audience that you have to listen to everyone's opinion. So much time will go by. What you can do is have, say, 3 different proposals, and then you say, let's have a vote on these different proposals amongst the devotees. But the groundwork has to be done before the Ishtagoshti.
Yes, I agree.
You know, it's like, well, should we have 10 acres of land, or should we buy a place on 441? I mean, somebody really has to go through the pros and cons of each option, have some concrete options, and then present it to the devotees, hash it out, and come up with a decision. I mean, a lot of it depends on the money, really. I mean, if we had the money, if we had $1 million, it would be like, just make a decision to buy it. But because getting the money is dependent on what we're going to do with it, and we don't know what we're going to do with it, so we can't ask the donors because we don't know what we're going to do with it yet. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. We'd like to have a lot of land, but we can't afford it. But if we went out and asked devotees to give us donations for a piece of land, that we don't really have a concrete plan yet because we don't have the land yet, we're kind of stuck. So, but if we have some devotees that are already putting out feelers to potential donors, asking what would you like to see, do we have some rough ideas? We'd like to have a land, a school, and a temple, and some housing. You know, are you interested? Maybe one of the donors would have some person who can manage that building project or whatever. I mean, we're limited in what we can do here simply because of the lack of money in our local Sangha here. We really have to have an infusion from the outside. I mean, if we're only going to depend on what we've got in our local Sangha, then we're talking about $200,000, folks. I mean, that's it. So I don't know how much we can raise. Maybe we could raise another 50 or 100, I don't know, by Mukunda's travels and so forth. So let's say $300,000, including what we get from selling this place. Well, that doesn't give us a lot of options. It means, you know, 150,000 for land and 150,000 for the temple. There's no question of having all kinds of houses and all that nice stuff that Ridguru was talking about. So right now everything's so ethereal. I think that's one thing that's frustrating Shamanity. Everything's ethereal. It's like, nice idea, what if this, what if that, but you know, until someone puts down the cold hard cash, it's all just talk.
I just want to say something about the school, since that's the project that I've been appointed to do. I'm going to make it happen, you guys. I learned on Go You Girls under the tutelage of Shamani Didi and Radha Dasi that was here last year and inspired everyone. I think everyone in the community kind of needs a fire under them, so to speak. And, you know, I can't say anything for the big temple project, like it's so big. You know, I'm still figuring out how I can serve that huge project. But for the school, you know, I really want to make it happen. I went to a really wonderful Gurukul, so next time I'm going to come and have concrete stuff to share, and I'm going to create a little board or committee of school people that will help me on all the technicalities. And even if those people don't show up to any of the next things, I will always show up and be there to talk about the school. So I'm just like raising my hand in the midst of the shadowy mists of confusion to say, I am gonna, you know, be a little bit of a concrete thing going on.
Yeah, a mover.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, folks, there you have it. The ladies are showing us up, gentlemen. So, is there anything else?
What I've always wanted, even from day one, is that I would be part of an educational society, just as the famous story of Bhaktisiddhanta saying, tear out the marble and print books. There are enormous educational societies that have no buildings. They have books. They have, and now you can just like I'm working with this fifth cancer group. You'd love it. I work with this fifth cancer group, and they put together a collection of all the evidences of fifth cancer and so on. And I said, this is the planetarium. They've lost or spent.
Don't get me started.
$37.5 million. I haven't finished it yet in 10 years. Like that, and then, you know, am I on part of it? Anyway, for all that money, for a few $100s we put together, and now we're working on a website. That is an educational planetarium a cyber planetarium.
Yeah.
So, like that, we don't have to think of building bricks and marble and wood. And even, I'll say this again because Bhaktisiddhanta said, tear out the marble, and it turns out one of our visiting sannyasis told us that Bhaktisiddhanta built the temple using inferior cement, knowing that someday that they could tear out the marble without breaking it.
Really?
Yeah. That's
Okay, so what I'd like to say on this is that Shishi Radha Govinda are already here, unless you want to ask them to leave and go somewhere else. We have to have some place for them. And although we are an educational movement, a preaching movement, it does seem to me that all the preachers lived in temples and trained their brahmacharis in temples. And also in this temple, many devotees have come to Krishna consciousness and got initiated, especially through Shamani Didi's preaching here. So the temple seems to have some valuable function in the broader scheme of things. It's not the only thing. I mean, there's all kinds of preaching. There's prison preaching, there's university preaching, there's street preaching, there's Nagar Sankirtan. I mean, take your pick. Build a planetarium, write a book about flat Earth. I mean, do whatever you want. Just take some responsibility and do something for the service of our Guru Parampara. The main thing is that, I mean, I know for myself that if I don't have someone telling me, keeping me on the straight and narrow, that my tendency is just to, take whatever material resources I've got and use them for my own sense gratification. Because without a guru to, chastise you and keep you on the straight and narrow, who of us has that self-control and that nishta that we will only use our valuable human form of life for progressing in Krishna consciousness? All raise their hands who say, I. Oh. So, I mean, Shamani Didi is here, and although I haven't surrendered 100% to her lotus feet, I do accept her valuable guidance. And I think, I don't know if we all agree that she is the de facto leader in our Sangha so long as she is here. So, I mean, we depend on our leaders and our sannyasis and our disciples of our Srila Prabhupada. We actually look to you for guidance. I mean, we're the next generation. 1, 2, 3, 4 devotees here are like super senior to us, like by light years. And we actually look to you for inspiration and guidance. And I can tell you, if we see the generation, Srila Prabhupada's disciple generation, lackadaisical in their Krishna consciousness, then we'll also become lackadaisical. Well, look, they're proper disciples, and they can't do it. So what the hell? Why should I even bother trying? I should just go home, watch the World Cup, and I can support my football team, Barcelona, yay. So, and then I can watch my Netflix, and I can do my thing, I can do my job. What's the problem? Everybody else is doing that.
This is where I dropped the mic.
Hey, don't break that.
You broke the mic!
That's Krishna's.
gravity.
That,
The most
what
important
you've described, will
greatest
always be there. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, that'll always be there, so.
The greatest ananda, more than is when you answer somebody's question in the school. A complete outsider. They ask a question and you answer and they go, That is so fantastic. When they get an answer.
Is that what you want from us?
No, for all this teaching lesson. Another major policy which is really ignored by others that when someone just has a favorable attitude, they don't have to join, they don't have to give up meat or cigars or anything. But if someone has a favorable attitude and think, well, I'm not doing it, but boy, those Hare Krishnas are some kind of spiritual people there. But they make enormous advancements.
That's true.
And to give them a
Prabhupada
bad
said that.
opinion by doing something ugly, doing something silly.
So what's your
Prabhupada said, it is the business of Maya to make our movement look ridiculous.
What's your point?
And
do something nice so people will say,
be aware of the general public. That is
Yes,
part
yeah,
of
he said that.
Beware of the outer
He wanted his reputation.
Sorry to interrupt everyone, but it's
Go to
getting
the
late.
store when you're going,
Okay.
walking down the street, when you, and when somebody walks in the door, no, you know, they have to be greeted properly.
Okay, go over and Andy.
So what's
Volleyball.
the plan, who's the coordinator for the next?
Okay, I'll organise the next is to go to tea. When do you want it? Next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month?
And how are you gonna encourage everybody to be there, who
Yeah,
needs to be there?
I'll do what I can.
That would be your.
Well,
I'm going to make sure that we get more
well, you
people
have the
next time.
committee members.
Yeah.
They're important because that's the feedback you're asking for, right?
Well, actually, who was... There was one committee about human resources. I think that was you, Maharaj, was it?
Yeah.
Human resources?
Yeah.
So why don't you take that responsibility?
There you go. You can head that committee.
At least for now.
What is that?
I want somebody, means,
Humans, I guess.
so you mean I should go and talk
Contact
to
all the
them?
members of the different committees.
Yeah.
Ask
Oh,
them.
no, that one, no problem.
Yeah.
The only thing is, if I have to go and contact lady, you know, or anything, it's difficult. I told you my experience. I had to stay in Telmac, you know. Oh, you know, I can't see you
I don't think
today.
there's any lady on a committee that doesn't also have a man on it.
Man, you know that one. I
Yeah,
know.
every great woman.
Okay.
So
So, That one, no
just
problem.
contact the men on the committees.
Check them both. To put that on the
Bravo,
board.
you
White,
sing.
Okay, who's playing Madonna?
White
I'll play
is
with that.
singing.
Thank you very much.
much.